All right, we have a number of observations, some really nice stuff to show you. Rolf's up. Rolf has some awesome images. There you go, sir.
Okay, I can remember how to operate this. So three different, completely different things here. First of all, Mars, which was in opposition a couple of months ago, and then a couple other pictures. Let's see. Okay, so it was still pretty small at the end of last year. So this is all we got then. Probably less than 8 arc seconds or so. And then January was pretty cloudy, and then in February we were away. So the next chance was in March when Mars was in opposition. Let's see. Oh yeah, I should go back here. So you see how big these images have north at the bottom. You can see how big the north polar cap was in December, but by March it had shrunk considerably because it was now summer in the northern hemisphere. Oops. That's not what I meant to do. Yeah, there it is. So you can see how small, and there's also a little bit of haze that comes out over the polar cap. This here is Olympus Mons and a cloud over it. And here, see this image here shows Olympus Mons when it's around noon time at Olympus Mons. And by the time it's evening, you'll have all these orographic clouds. That's why you get a lot of clouds on this limb of Mars, because this is kind of evening clouds. And this is kind of morning haze, kind of like fog. You always get that. This is in April when it was still getting not too bad size-wise, but starting to get smaller.
Is that big canyon anywhere in these pictures?
Valles Marines is right here, but it is not an albedo feature, so it doesn't actually show up as a feature in any albedo pictures. So basically what you're seeing here is just light and dark areas, and Valles Marines is pretty much the same color as what's around it, so unfortunately it doesn't show up. You're always looking at the full phase of Mars, pretty much. So you don't get any shadows in any of the craters or valleys or mountains or anything like that.
Is that fog on the very top on April 10th?
Oh yes, thank you for pointing that out. So this is actually what's called Hellas. This is not the South Polar Cap, but it's Hellas. This is the lowest elevation feature on Mars. It's like 7 miles below the actual, or the sea level, if you like, of Mars. So this is kind of filled up with haze and probably frost. Probably water frost at that.
Tell Brian you got a great face on Mars there.
Yeah, so some people think that there's a face here. Yes. So this is my favorite. This is sort of the favorite view of Mars because there's a lot of neat features there. This little notch here is defined as
Unibrow.
that's called Sinus Meridiani. And that's the central meridian of Mars, and it was defined that way because the visual observers were able to see this very sharply defined V, and they thought, okay, let's make that 0 degrees.
I see something like Jabba the Hutt on that face.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Mars Picasso.
All right. Okay, so here is a very interesting thing. This is showing 3 monochrome images on March 20th. And what happened here was a lot of people took an image of Mars and they looked at their green and their blue image and they thought, oh, what the heck happened there? And they were throwing away this data. And I was ready to throw that away too, because there was this very high altitude cloud that was showing up, but it looked like some kind of an artifact or some effect of seeing. But the seeing was actually not too bad this night. And what it was a very high altitude cloud, which seems to appear periodically. And it may even have extended beyond what you might call limb. I mean, this was already past the time of opposition, so there was actually a little bit of a phase to it already. But this seems to have actually extended significantly high into the Martian atmosphere. And it showed up best in green and blue light. The green here is somewhat enhanced in terms of brightness. It wouldn't normally be that bright. Same with the blue. Mars is brightest in red, of course, but this cloud was brightest in that, so it was enhanced. And once again, here you can see in blue light the clouds show up. This is the cloud over Olympus Mons. Okay, and April 12th we had an aurora. Interestingly, these are our solar panels underneath, and of course it ties in the solar with the fact that the aurora is caused by the sun. Okay, so in February we were in Arizona. This was taken from the rim of the Grand Canyon, sort of at the end of February, I guess. The lights here this is Las Vegas, several hundred miles away. It's extremely dark at the rim of the Grand Canyon. This is Mesquite in sort of on the Arizona-Nevada border. Oh yeah. So what we have here is this is the zodiacal light, which is extremely prominent, and Venus and Jupiter, which now Venus is getting closer to the sun, and Jupiter is very close to the sun now. There's M31 and the Milky Way here. So interestingly, this is Grand Canyon. Wintertime is when there's the least number of people there, but it's still pretty crowded. But when it gets dark, everybody goes inside because it's pretty cold. It's at 7,000 feet and it's in the winter. So we went out to one of the lookouts and we thought we'd be alone, but in fact there was another photographer there taking pictures. So even at night it's a very popular place to take pictures. He wasn't an amateur astronomer, actually. He was just trying to get other kind of interesting pictures. And there were still cars driving by on the road, so people were still doing stargazing at the Grand Canyon. Very dark sight if you ever get a chance to go there.
Was that North Rim or South Rim?
This is the South Rim.
Could you back up that one picture, please?
Yes.
It looks like in the bottom area, it looks like you've got a little bit of small-scale structure in the air glow with that little bit of green banding.
No, that's a problem with the Canon 40D, that it always has these. Oops, sorry. These buttons are very confusing. Yeah, these bands. No, this is an artifact of the Canon 40D, which I'm hoping to replace soon. Sorry, but there's a lot of airplanes. A lot of airplanes fly around Las Vegas. Airplanes all the time. No matter where you go, anywhere, even in a very dark sky, there's going to be airplanes going by. So this is see another airplane down there. So this is looking a little bit to the side, obviously looking south. Now again from that same site, the winter Milky Way and Orion. That's about a 30-second exposure. And then later on we went to southern Arizona. This is taken from Arizona Sky Village, and these are the Chiricahua Mountains. So again, Venus and Jupiter, but also I waited as long as possible until the sky got dark, but I don't know if you can see Mercury down here.
Oh, yeah.
Just above the mountains there. And that's about as good as it got there. Is that the last one?
Yeah, your video.
Oh yeah, then there's something else. Okay, so this was I don't know, it looks like it's cut off at the bottom on the screen there.
It is.
Actually, it's
I see more
cut
here.
off. Yeah.
I see more Rolf here than on that screen.
Oh well. Okay, doesn't matter. So this was the super moon. Did you all hear about the super moon?
I didn't see a cape or Leotard or anything.
Okay, so It's behind the trees there, so let's see if we can make it go up.
It's a bird. It's a plane. It's supermoon.
Actually, there were several flocks of geese that flew by when I took this, but they didn't get captured that well. Okay, so that's it.